It's not necessarily obvious that to have somebody who has a couple books out tell you that you should not be a writer. Let's break it down. Here are the kind of writers you should not be. Writer number one. Has anybody seen Castle? You seen Castle? Okay. This is the first type of writer you do not want to be. It's a great trope, right? World famous, he travels the globe, independently wealthy, because that's what writers do, you know? And that's how it works out. It is not an effective career strategy to have your plan be to the next J.K. Rowling. You are more likely to be hit by lightning. There is too much luck in this game. You have to write to a decent amount of quality, but there's too much luck to have your career goal be, my intention is to replace J.K. Rowling. Here are some statistics. Only 2% of writers worldwide make their living from their writing. In the United States, the median income for writers in 2014 was $8,000. The poverty line for a one-person household at that same year is $11,670. That's actually the good news. Those are people who are making money writing, because there are an awful lot of people who are writing full-time and living in their parents' basements. If you do get a book published, you get a publishing contract, you break open the champagne, oh my God, it's awesome. What comes next? Here's what comes next. Unless you're John Grisham or J.K. Rowling, you do your own PR. You never pass up an opportunity to make sure to put your book in front of people. The postcards are over there and they're on Amazon. You do your own social media. You make friends with Facebook. You put up with Twitter. You do half your day of not writing things. You also become a target of scams. This is not something we talk about as much as we should in the writing world, but you start getting people who are going to help you up your Twitter feed, do your social media for you, help you with your PR, do your copy editing. All of those things are ways to extract money from you, which we already know you don't have a lot of. So, number one, do not be Richard Castle. It's a bad career goal. Number two, writer you do not want to be. Historical context. If you're in my 106 class, you know that my favorite thing to do is to look at historical context because of what we can learn from that. So, the idea that comes into our head when we think about writers of the people who sit in coffee shops or work in them, just until their book sells, with a manual typewriter, because that's the way we do it for real. Waiting for inspiration to strike, waiting for that sweet lash of art. Okay, don't be that guy either. That is not historically how writing has worked. That is a 19th century concept. I want to slap in the afterlife Shelley and Wordsworth. I will give Byron a pass. I'll give Keats a pass. But I really want to slap Shelley because he is one of the people primarily responsible for creating that idea of the suffering artist just waiting for inspiration to strike. That is not how it worked historically. Before that, if you were a writer, a working writer, you worked to deadline. Chaucer did not wait for inspiration to strike to write the Book of the Duchess, which is his poem that is mourning John of Gaunt's wife. John of Gaunt was his primary patron. He had to just get cracking on that thing. The poet who wrote the Battle of Malden, you know what the Battle of Malden is because we were talking about it in class the other day. How did the English do in the Battle of Malden?
What's the answer?
You were in class!
I wasn't in class.
1,000 years old, so I'm gonna do it anyway. This was a real battle in the year 991. The English got their clocks cleaned by the Vikings. They were destroyed to a man. The king at that point said, you know, I need you to spin this for me. The Battle of Malden is an epic poem about how, well, we lost, but we were really good doing it. We were awesome, and we were heroic, and we lived up to our ideals. We died. But the important thing is we lived up to our ideals. He could not wait until he felt like it to whip that poem out. That poem was written within a year, and probably 6 months of the battle. Shakespeare was writing on deadline for every single thing he wrote. He was also a working actor and owned shares in the company. So, do not be a writer if that's what you mean by being a writer. You have to wait for inspiration, and your intention is to get rich. However, hear what I'm saying. I am not saying that you should not write. You should absolutely write. And you should write whether you're making your living as a writer or not. And it's extremely important, no matter what you are going to do. An engineer, a mechanical engineer, a pharmacist, an artist, a historian, whatever you are doing, it is crucial that you learn the art of writing and that you communicate exactly what you are doing here. You have to be able to tell other people what you're doing. And you have to be able to tell people who are not specialists in your area what you are doing. My rule of thumb was, if I can explain it to my dad, who was a farmer, by the way, if I could explain it to my dad, I had it right. Turns out he didn't know when the Middle Ages were. So we were really starting from the basics. But eventually we got it. So is that before Christ or after? Yeah, okay. This is how civilization does not fall apart as we get further and further into our specialties. Being able to explain to somebody who is not in your field and who might not even be a professional what it is that you do. Oh yes, one more thing. Not just academic writing. You need to be able to write blogs, you need to be able to write opinion pieces, you need to be able to write screenplays. There's a really interesting piece of American culture going on around forensic science right now because of CSIs. When I was growing up and watching the OJ trial, nobody knew what DNA was. It was astonishing, actually, the percentage of the American population didn't know what DNA was. But thanks to shows like CSI, we know. Now, we don't have it right? The details are wrong. But the generalities we know. Fiction and television is a way to educate people, but not if they know you're doing it. You have to be entertaining and communicate what you're doing. That is hard to do. I have in more than one movie seen Sir Gawain and the Green Knight used as the epitome of the most boring thing anybody could ever lecture on. Clearly, we're not doing a great job with this yet. One last thing. Never pass up on that.